wearing the nicest shirt, man. I think you should do the intro today. Let the people know.
All right. This is my strategy. I wake up and I put on a clean shirt. Um,
It's working.
right. It's got to be clean. It's got to be ironed. What's up, everybody? I'm Tyson Nagasaka with Portfolio Planning. I'm here with Vishall Gill, and this is episode 2 of Portfolio Talks. We wanted to bring you a unscripted, behind the scenes chats that Vishal and I and our partners we always have, and sometimes we have really great ideas, really great takes on what's happening with our clients, and we thought this would be a great medium to kind of record it, talk about what's going on, and they say one of the greatest things that you can do is learn from your mistakes, and an even better thing you could do is learn from mistakes of others. And that's kind of like what we do here. We do hot wash of our meetings. We talk about what our week has been, and we're probably going to talk a lot about golf this episode because Vishal just got back. That guy was in San Diego. I'm jealous, and it's always sunny in San Diego.
I got my
Oh,
clubs
look
with
at
me right
that.
behind me.
Just in case you have to escape partway through the chat.
Honestly, in case someone hits me with a message, let's go golfing. I'm grabbing this bag and I'm out of here, man. So it'll be quick stops.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. It's funny during this last week. So we did episode 1 last week, same time, and I put a Snapchat of my prep. So it was just like super random photo of like a camera, a laptop. I'm like posting stuff. And people were like, what are you posting? What's going on? And I had a couple conversations about this update because, yeah, like you said it perfectly and you articulated it well. A lot of people want to have the conversations around money, but the friends or family, the circle doesn't have those conversations either because they're too embarrassed to, don't like to. It's I don't know, it might be a generational thing or an immigrant thing, but for whatever reasons, they don't have those. So we want to bring it to you, and they're like, "That's awesome." So I think there's gonna be a lot of excitement for this kind of stuff. But yeah, we were just talking about spending, and Tyson said he's a really good spender, and I feel like sometimes I am as well. But you gotta pick and choose what you spend. I don't like shopping for clothes. I try and keep my wardrobe pretty simple. And also, honestly, for shooting content, if I just wear like black shirts, no one knows like is all filmed on one day. Oh, Michael's joining us. Let's bring him in.
All
No
right.
one knows if I'm like filming, like batch filming content all at once, or what. So I like give you a zip. What's up, Mike?
Hey,
What's up, Mike?
sorry
We're
guys.
already recording. Just
Yeah,
FYI.
no worries. I was on the phone too long, so yeah.
All good,
It's
all good.
okay.
Making mortgages happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what are we talking
but
about today?
yeah, spending right now. We're talking about spending.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tyson was just talking about.
We'll fill Mike in. So Vishal and I were
Yeah.
having a conversation before we hit record, and I was saying earlier in my career I attended like a financial planning session, and it's all financial planners. And then they make you like stand up and like give your like little bio and whatever. And everyone stands up and goes, "I'm a great saver. I save 10% of my gross income. It goes into here." And it's like the cookie cutter answer. And most people don't do that. And so I stood up and I said, "I'm a great spender. My wife is a great saver." And everyone like, what the F did you just say? And I said, "I don't go out. I don't like to like go shopping because I'm going to spend money. I just
Yeah.
know I am." And so Vishal said, "Hey, what'd you do this weekend?" It's like, well, the girls went out and did some stuff, and I went with them, and I ended up buying like a whole new wardrobe because they're clearing out summer stuff everywhere. And it's like, damn it, I didn't really want to go out, but I found these things, this store that we went to, they're clearing out all their summer stuff. It was great stuff, and instead of being like $80, $90 t-shirts, I got them for $10, and they're wicked. But I bought a whole
So you
bunch of
bought
them.
10 of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Finance math.
Yeah. So it's just the truth. That's what this is supposed to be, is like raw and unfiltered. And that's my confession for today.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I bought new golf clubs.
All right.
But I
It's
mean, everybody does that. I mean, there's some people who can save way better than most, but let's
Yeah.
face it, we all know the stuff we should be putting our money into, and how many of us actually do it? I mean, it's such a small amount. And I find, especially in the last 2 years with rates going up and a lot of people's mortgage payments going up and car loans and all that kind of stuff, um, we had to force our way into somehow finding a way to pay it. Well, this to me is the perfect topic, because with things going back down, now that you know what your budget was, what if you reinvested that in a much better way instead of going and buying more t-shirts, and looked for a way to say, okay, if my mortgage payment was $1,000 more, what if I put $1,000 into RSPs? Or what if I did an RSP catch-up loan and used $1,000 to pay it off fast, or whatever? I mean, we could all come up with a bunch of different ideas, but why not use this negative thing we've had for the last couple of years as an opportunity to build your future? Like, that is, to me, such a
100%.
strong case. And we can't say, oh, I don't want to spend the money. I don't want life insurance. I can't afford it. I don't want this. I don't want that. There's all these things that we know we should have, and we just keep going, I'll get to it one day, but we never will if we keep going that way. So being the older guy in this group, I can tell you, I mean, if all of us had invested even $1,000 in RSPs in just a term deposit, I mean, we know how that interest works, and it just is amazing how, with the right amount of time, it doesn't matter how conservative you're using the investment. I mean, it's crazy how time can help you. So for people that are listening, and if you can make that change now instead of 20, like, I see so many people that when they hit 50 or 55, they start to get into oh my God, I'm gonna have to retire one day. Now they're trying to max out on all their RSPs and do all the things they should have done 20 years before. And we all know why. I mean, we all have legitimate reasons. It's not like people are bad for doing that, but why not take this opportunity that's been kind of fed to you by having higher payments for a long time? Now they're coming down, use it.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, I couldn't agree more. Like, I always tell people, like, you're spending that money regardless. Like, let's say, for example, like, I want life insurance. I just don't have the money for it now. I want to invest. I don't have the money for it now. Critical illness is a big one because cancer rates are crazy through the roof. But people are like, I don't want to pay for it now. Like, you're gonna pay for it at some point, and you're probably already paying the money. The difference is, instead of paying it to yourself, you're paying it to the banks via interest on credit cards, a line of credits, or you're paying it to the government probably on your taxes. So if you can pay less taxes and pay more to yourself via an RSP, so you're going to reduce your taxable income, so you're paying less to the government, keep it more in your pocket, or just spending less and putting less in your credit cards and your line of credits, and investing that for yourself, or protecting yourself in the future with a critical illness policy. And best case scenario, you never get ill and you can get your money back if you never get ill and you cancel your policy. Worst case scenario, you get ill and you like 3x or 4x the deposits you put in there, even higher, depending, I guess, when you get sick. It's always, people prefer the former. Like, I never get ill, and it's like a forced savings account. So many different ways you can spend your money. But the problem is everyone gets into lifestyle inflation. But I think this time hopefully will be different because it was like COVID. So people couldn't really spend money besides like eating out and supporting local businesses and whatever. So like COVID was one thing, and people started to realize the benefit and how much they enjoy the free stuff in life, because that's pretty much all that was available. And then interest rates started coming up, and you're like, man, I don't have any money. I still gotta enjoy the free stuff. So I hope that when interest rates come down and people have more disposable income, they remember that a lot of the things you enjoyed doing in life over the last 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, didn't really cost you a ton of money. So you don't really need to be spending a ton of money. So save it for yourself, because that bill is coming at some point. Like Mike said, you're gonna have to retire, and the government's not gonna be able to retire it for you. Like CPP, only security, maybe GIS, they're only gonna get you so far. You need to save for yourself, and your employers could go bottoms up. Something crazy could happen. So bet on yourself. Make sure you put your money, and don't spend your money like me and Tyson did over the weekend.
And
Mine was
just to add
bad.
to that, the other side of that coin is invest in yourself, in terms of, one of the things some of the coaches I've had in the past always say, spend like money investing in yourself and making yourself better. Whether you're in your own business or you're working for somebody, your value goes up if you're adding to your skills and your mindset. So don't forget to invest in that stuff too. I mean, it's the fun things to buy are always, it's fun for sure, but it's not going to necessarily last. And I'm guilty beyond, I mean, I have a car addiction and it's horrible, but it's when you look
There's
back,
different levels
wow,
here.
like,
There's different levels. Tyson's
young
buying shirts,
people
I'm
in their
buying golf clubs,
20s,
you're buying cars.
yeah, young people in their 20s, I mean, they, like, instead of, maybe you don't get a degree because maybe that isn't necessarily the best return of investment, but maybe it's going to a course every year, or doing a course, or like doing different things that are going to help you grow yourself and become better at whatever it is you want to do, and go with your dreams. Like, invest in your dreams. I mean, you guys are both self-employed. You've figured out how to do it, and it wasn't easy, I'm sure, at first, and still probably isn't easy all the time. But man, the longer you're in it, I mean, it's like when people say, "What's the best time to invest in real estate?" 20 years ago, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's either 20 years ago or today. Like the longer you wait and postpone stuff in life, it's not a good recipe. It's better to get on things ahead of time.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
never been easier. It's never been easier. There's so much information like this, these conversations that you're having. Social media, obviously be careful about what you listen to on social media. There's guides, there's e-education. To Michael's point, it's you don't really need to do the traditional, like, okay, I need to learn about money, so let me do like finance 101, finance 102, finance 203, and be like, all right, I still don't know shit. It's better to be like, all right, cool, let me go online and actually learn from people and implement some stuff. You can buy some budget sheets. Excel has a bunch of templates for free. Canva has them. ChatGPT can help you with it. Um, there's like that. I don't know if it's Etsy. I forgot what software it is, but there's people that sell templates and
Yeah.
Excel spreadsheets, stuff like that. Like, it's never been easier, but it's also never been harder because there's so many distractions out there. So it's a weird paradox that you're in, but just freaking make it happen. Like, you got to advocate for yourself. Enough is enough, because the problems, if you feel bad about your finances now, you're only gonna feel worse as time goes on. So make it happen. And man, for the people that are single, dating gets a lot harder if you're broken, unfortunately. So it's one of those things that you gotta take time. And we talk about all the time, like our clients on the finance side, the financial planning side. Um, More and more, I'm seeing a lot of younger clients who want to start their planning when they're single, because they're like, I can manage my stuff and I can correct my behaviors. It's so much harder if there's two of you and one spouse or one partner wants to get better and one wants to keep spending, or vice versa. It's very difficult, where a lot of them now are starting to be like, hey, I'm single. I have a significant other. We're probably getting married in the next couple of years. I need to figure this stuff out now. So have a good foundation before I'm trying to figure out, how we're going to do it together. So, overarching theme: get it done as soon as you can. Never been easier, never been harder, but it's got to get done.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think, I mean, in your business, even when people are married, maybe they both want to save, but they could have completely different risk tolerances and different ideas about what
Yeah.
they want to do, right?
Yeah,
Different
every time.
values, what they want to invest in, how much they want to invest. Tyson and I talked about it last week. Was it last week? We're at Fort Langley grabbing that coffee.
Yep.
I think it was last week. Yeah, time's a weird blend, but yeah, we're talking about it, and it's funny. There's so many conflicting goals when there's two people making a financial plan, and all their priorities are different. So, we one of our things that we say is, in the first world country, you can have anything that you want, but you can't have everything that you want. So we got to pick and choose what goals are the most realistic, which ones are the most urgent, because we got to prioritize. Like, this person wants these 5 things done, this person wants these 4 things done, and all of them are uber important. So we got to, like, kind of prioritize and do, all right, here's your financial plan. Here's phase one. We'll help you get this started. Here's phase two. We'll help you get that started. And I think that for us has been probably the biggest ROI. I think, Mike, to your point earlier about investing in your own business, like investing in the infrastructure to be able to help them with actually implementing it. Because too many financial planners out there, or money coaches, or whatever terms are out there, they're like, here's your plan. See you later. And exchange of currency, boom. And now it's on you to finish that out. That really doesn't do well, because if they could do it, they would have done it themselves. So what we really try and focus on as of the last couple of years is, here's your plan, but here's the phase rollout: phase one, phase two, phase three, phase four, and we're going to help you actually implement this stuff and have the conversations and make sure this is actually happening, because we don't want to just take your money, give you a template, and know you're going to fail. That doesn't feel good. So we want to make sure that people are actually getting better. But yeah, last week was crazy. We're just going through all these files. A lot of interesting ones, actually. I don't know. We can probably talk about that GPLP one that we're preventing.
Sure.
It's yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think one thing that we could do is also, like, on the week to week, just what did we do this last week? So this last week was crazy. Just had a bunch of meetings. Had to wrap up everything before I went to San Diego. Went to San Diego, golfed. Did well, actually, Mike. I shot
Yeah.
90. Well for me. I should preface this by saying, well for me. I shot 93 at Aviara, and then 94 the day after that. So
Good for
back to
you.
back nice days. Yeah, I felt like you might see me on the next season of Full Swing, to be honest, but I might just be in the background clapping. I'm not sure in what role I'm going to be, but Netflix, if you're watching this, hit me up. Um, but yeah, it was great. So just trying to wrap up all that stuff. But while I was leaving, one thing that we always do is we have kind of partnerships with a bunch of different people out there. So whenever there's good investments, we'll have developers that will contact us and be like, "Hey, think this will be good for your client base? Let us know what you think." And then we'll also have our clients get approached and they send us their deals to pre-vet. So you probably see this all the time, and the audience, you may see this as well. When you have a little bit of money and an appetite for investments, people start hitting you up with a bunch of different stuff. 90% of it sucks. Probably 95% of it sucks, but that 5% is good. So we had one that got brought to us. Obviously, can't get too much into detail, but it was a very interesting one. So um, they were looking for. Tyson, cut me off if I say something that I shouldn't be saying, but they were looking for practitioners that would be good partners for development, and they wanted to bring them in, have their practitioners pay money in exchange for equity in the project,
Oh, okay.
and it's going to be built out over the next 6, 7
From the
years
ground level kind of thing.
at the ground level, yeah,
Yeah.
before they're even doing the permits. So, in an ideal world, like for you guys out there, in an ideal world, when it comes to those, general partner, limited partner developments, it's always better to get in before the density increases. And what I mean by that is before the building permit. I might say it wrong, but before the permit for switching from like a condo to like a townhouse to a condo, or a single detached to a duplex, whatever. Before that happens, the value of the land is less than it will be as soon as that permit's approved. So if you're going to go into it, get into the ground level before the density of that land goes up, because the value of the land will go up significantly. So that's kind of where we're at with this um, opportunity. And it's that we looked at it and we're like, it's unreal. I think the ROI, I can't remember exactly what the number was, Tyson, but I think over 6 years, was it like 300% return on investment? Maybe
I don't
more.
have the number in front of me, but yeah, it was it. If it works the way that it's illustrated, then it's a good deal.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
very interesting.
Very interesting. A lot of layers to pull out, and kind of what the process looks like for us is client called us. He's like, "Hey, this was brought to my table. We actually know the developers as well personally, so I'm like, cool. Let's have a conversation." Um, Me and Tyson were supposed to have coffee and catch up on some other stuff. I'm like, can everything else. Let's take care of this right now because it's interesting. Tyson jumped on the phone, started calling and doing some research. I jumped on the phone, called the developers, had a conversation, called their lender, had a conversation because there were some questions and numbers that didn't make sense to me. So just want to get clarification on that. Got everything together, ran the numbers myself, built the proposal, called the client back. I'm like, all right, these are the things that we need to get resolved to get the lawyer to button up and ready for the contract, and then you're good to go. So it makes a lot of sense because, for them, they can either use all their money to buy something smallish, or use their money with partners to buy something huge. And for them, the ROI makes a lot more sense. There's obviously trade-offs where you lose a little bit of liquidity, things of that type, but it was just really cool to see the layers of it. And just another reason I'm so thankful that someone smarter than me, like Tyson, who works with me, um, because yeah, there was some of the stuff I was fully stuck with, and he's like, makes it seem so simple. He's like, this is the answer. I was like, yeah, that's right. That is the answer. And there's been many times, all the people you hear on this call, like Mike saved me countless times whenever I have no idea what I'm talking about. Or sometimes you just need to talk it through, and you get that voice of reason, like, okay, cool, this makes a lot more sense. And the other people you hear on this call, it's important that, for me, that I have a group around me that can help me add so much value. And the return investing in yourself, like for me, the people around me have been like the biggest return on my investment. And the audience gets to see all the people as well. But that's kind of what it was. I passed my CFP over the last couple of days. Actually, right before I flew out to San Diego, I got my notification on my phone that I passed my CFP. I
Nice.
was like, perfect.
Congrats.
So I really partied it up in San Diego. It was great. And yeah, it was a busy week. So that was pretty much what was going on with me. And then now I was trying to catch up. So it's been crazy, but it's always interesting the different deals that come across our table, and how we kind of pull apart those deals, ask the questions that aren't on the proposal, because the numbers that they give you are like the best numbers. And are they really true? You don't really know, especially with private projects. They don't have the same compliance that they have to have, third-party auditors and all that kind of stuff. So it's good to have a team that can pre-vet these deals for you. And that's just one of the many things that we do for our clients. But that was an interesting thing that happened for us in my last week. But Tyson, Mike, what's going on with you guys?
Go ahead, Tyson.
Yeah, I had a lot less excitement. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't fly out and get accredited and have beautiful weather every day. I didn't have that.
Shoot a 93.
You
Yeah.
did on your Snapchats. I think I Snapchatted you every day.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Thanks. Um, so I think before I move on to anything that I did, one of the great things is the deals like that we were looking at is one of the things that we have to remind our clients about is some of the language that's in there, like the word performa. That doesn't mean that your deal's gonna produce or perform at the illustrated 11% or whatever it is. That's the best ideal conditions, the returns that you can expect. So really, they're made up numbers. And so we handle the same kind of um, thought traps when we're talking about investments with clients, whether that's your tax-free savings or your RSPs or whatever, is you want to be careful about your expected rates of return. And it's really more about managing expectations than it is about managing the project or the investments or the portfolio, something like that. So I thought I would just throw that in while it was on my mind. Um, I had a much less exciting week. Client meetings. Um, it's kind of business as usual. Nothing super exciting. Just been on the phone, been on the computer a lot, lots of emails, and then I went shopping on the weekend, and yeah, nothing super exciting, nothing fancy, and no highlights, no highlight reel.
That's the
So
summer.
I
There's
want
not a
to touch
ton
on what
of volume
Vishal
that
was
happened
saying.
over
I
the
think
summer.
one of the big things you said there is surround yourself with experts, right? I mean, have a group that you can count on for the right information because you can't possibly know everything about everything. Like, there's just no way, and
That's
nor do
right.
you want to probably. Like, it's like the people that are really passionate about that area, let them be passionate and share their knowledge with you. That's so important. And the other thing I was going to ask you guys is I would assume that in a situation like that, you're not going to go to all your clients because all your clients have different ideas. But how do you guys decide who might be interested in that as opposed to somebody you know is not going to be interested? How do you pass that on?
Yeah, I have a couple of ideas on that, but uh, with my like investment background, there's a process there. It's called Know Your Client, and it's really understanding um, the level of like willingness and risk tolerance and those kind of things for a client. And there's a lot of clients that you can bring a deal to, and they may have the means and they may qualify like on paper, but they may have zero appetite. And so
Yeah,
presenting them with opportunities like that, it makes no sense. It could actually like sour the relationship.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
And I think that our job as like managers of people and relationships is important to know like okay, this one's like approachable, this one makes sense for these kind of clients, and this one is like do not bring this up to this client. And to be honest, is I've had a lot of clients in the past that they would jump at a chance to have like a cool investment opportunity or whatever, but really they should not qualify for that because it can go bad really quickly, and no one likes to look at the downside, right? And so our job as the relationship like
yeah,
manager is really like risk management is we don't want it to blow back on us and then the whole thing burns down because
yeah.
someone didn't want to look at the risk, they only wanted to look at the reward.
I couldn't agree more. I think one thing that we always do is when we start working with our financial planning clients specifically, we do a lot of fact finding. So we do like 3 meetings before we even get to the financial planners, really understanding who they are, who else is involved in their finances. So do they have dependent parents? Do they have a dependent spouse? Do they have an incoming spouse? And a lot of the times, to Tyson's point, I think he said it really well, we got to protect our clients from our themselves sometimes. So there's been many instances where there's an investment opportunity that comes across their table, and there was one I know that a client would have liked, but their parents are financially dependent on them, and their parents are coming to retirement within a year. The time horizon on this project is about 7 years, I'm like, it doesn't make any sense for them, and you almost got to protect them because if you give it to them, they'll have FOMO and they'll go all in onto something. And a lot of times, even if it doesn't blow up in the face, if it underperforms, it could have severe complications, especially with aging parents. What happens if there's an illness? What happens if at the same time the parents are retiring, the kids have a kid, and now everything changes. So there's a lot of times that that happens, or one spouse we know would be interested in it, another spouse would not be interested in it, and it's going to cause like a fight between them. Like it doesn't really make much sense. So there's that, and then with this specific project, they're looking for specific types of practitioners because they need it for the lending. So that makes it easy as well. We just know a lot about our clients, so we take a lot of time to learn about our clients, so we can learn what to bring to them, what to not bring to them, and why for all this stuff, which I think is very very important. And for everyone out there, there's no shortage of opportunities out there, but there's a shortage of the right opportunities out there. So if you sometimes what you invest in is less important than what you don't invest in, and that'll save you a ton of money. And I think Tyson, I'm pretty sure you told me that sometimes the best investments are the ones you don't make. Um, and that's what we really try and protect our clients from is just the FOMO. And we saw during COVID how many people were buying like Dogecoin or GameStop or these crypto stuffs or cannabis stocks or individual stocks that they just saw on a Yahoo Finance page or some influencer threw something on social media like this is going to go to the moon. They put their money in it, bam, bankrupt, nothing.
Yeah.
So it's very important to protect our clients for ourselves because that right there shows you how much FOMO investing is a real thing. So we need to be very important and diligent of even if we think about a client, we go back to our client files, relook at their KYC or sorry, your know your client, relook at that, relook at the investor profile, remind ourselves, does this make sense? Does it make not make sense? We touch base with each other as well. Like I'll run it by Tyson and vice versa. And then kind of go from there. So it just there's a lot of things behind the scenes before we bring an investment to a client for a lot of those reasons.
I love that. So one of the things I was coached on, and I'm a huge believer in it's what you guys are saying there is as an advisor of any kind, first of all, your job is to understand your client and what they want, but also like deep down, not just, oh, I want to make lots of money. Like you said, they've got dependent parents who are retired, whatever the scenario is, you have to understand that like almost as well as they do. And you have to ask them
Yep.
tough questions sometimes because people don't want to tell you everything. And yet, if you understand that everything down the road as their advisor, guide, whatever you want to call it, you can stop them from themselves and remind them, does this really make you get to where you want it, you told me you want to be? And maybe the opportunity cost of, yeah, you'd be locked up for 7 years. It doesn't matter how much you make. If you needed the money back 6 years before, it's not going to
Hmm.
matter. So
Nope.
like that's a huge part of our role is to understand what the client really wants out of their long-term goal. And it's hard to get people to paint their big picture down the road and what that is. And that's a huge part of what I think we have to do is to dig deep and get them to share that with you. And when you do, that's an amazing relationship. And that's when it's just lifelong. Like they're going to be with you and you're looking after them. And that's what is really rewarding, but also very tough to pull off.
It is tough. I
100%. You
mean,
probably see it. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, it's all good. We don't charge a fee for like goal development, and that's really one of the toughest parts of being an advisor of any kind, is having the client set a realistic but clear goal of like this is what we want to achieve, and we're going to commit to that goal
Yeah.
and divert resources and time and whatever. Most people don't have a clear idea, but they do operate on FOMO and they operate on like this is what everybody else is doing. And right to Vishal's
Most
point,
people work at a very short-term place, right, in their lives. Like, and it's not that they're wrong. It's just that's how our society's built right now. It's just built towards like, what are we gonna do for dinner? That's all we
yeah,
Yeah,
do, right?
yeah.
And getting like forcing them to think big and look far. It's hard to do,
it's
but
difficult.
it's so good if you can do it.
That's right. That's right. I think that's why so few people achieve their goals is because most people don't have the ability to stick to it. Even like a 90-day workout plan or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, like 90 days goes by like the blink of an eye, but to get them to commit to something, um, is tough.
Yeah.
And there's only a small percentage of people that do it, and then it's like if you work with them, you look like you're successful and they're successful. But if you work with the other, 98% of people, everybody's frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably see Mike, you probably see that a lot going back to the advising side of does it really make sense for you or not, and the loss of liquidity in their money. You probably saw a lot with pre-sales, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a huge, people get excited. It's going to be brand new. It's going to be, they see you don't even see the real unit. You see a fake version of the unit that looks perfect, and it's never going to be like that. So, uh, yeah, there's a lot of obviously sales involved with those things, and I get it. I understand why people get excited about them, but yeah, pre-sales are big discussion points if you can get people to talk about them before they just go and do it. So.
Yeah. What do
If
you
you don't
think
mind me
the
asking,
Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, if you don't mind me asking, Mike, how does that work with like, again, just to have like a raw conversation, but how does that work if let's say for example I'm a realtor and I am kind of telling my client, oh, this is a good investment for you, it's a pre-sale, blah blah whatever, and it comes to your table to pre-approve it. It's obviously kind of awkward because there's money attached to it. It's like if you get the loan done, then you'll get paid for it, and then you also don't want to upset the realtor relationship. But how does that work if it's like,
I
this
mean,
isn't
it can
really a
be
great
tricky, but
investment?
in general, I always think long term. I'm not. I'm after. I want to help the client long term. I don't want to just worry about a transaction. So, if that's all it is, and the realtor's never going to deal with me again, then so be it. I mean, that's the way it is. But quite honestly, most realtors aren't really selling pre-sales because they don't get paid as much. Pre-sales are more where people walk into the development and the development is selling it, and they have their in-house realtor. That's usually what happens because what people honestly, most of the contracts are very development sided. I mean, they're written by the developer. They're not for the to help the client very much. A lot of them you can't even change much in there. Uh, like if they tell you it's completion day January 1st, you got to complete January 1st. If they tell you it's going to be ready by January 1st, but then we didn't quite get there, so now it's going to be the end of January. No, it's going to be March.
It's
Like they
January
have
next year.
no repercussions in most of those contracts. So like it's very one-sided. So I mean, I encourage people to really, I would always have a lawyer review them at the very least, or have a realtor on your side helping to negotiate if you're serious about going into those. But yeah, they're very one-sided, and I'm not anti-developer. I mean, we need them. We need them to build these places, and I get why they want to pre-sell them. It makes sense. Like if your building's 98% pre-sold before you start building, it's going to be a lot faster and easier. But unfortunately, there's like in dealing with humans, they're not all exactly the same, and some are not as nice as others, and so just have to be really careful and advise people the best you can, and once again, it goes back to long-term goals and plans. If your long-term goal is to hold 5 properties, you better make sure if you're buying that pre-sale, is it even rentable down the road if that's part of your plan? Or, there's so many pieces to that puzzle. And unfortunately, in this day, I mean, you guys probably have it too. Like everybody's rushed. Everybody wants to get everything done fast and get out the door or off the Zoom call or whatever it is. Um, it's hard to explore all the possibilities and potential pitfalls. And even if you get that painting of what you want or what they want to do, you got to build the path how they get there. That's the hard part. I mean, they could go off a cliff, and
Yeah.
like to me, I feel like we're taking them through a jungle, and we have to help them find that path of the way through. So yeah, pre-sales they come up, and sometimes they fit somebody's long-term plan, sometimes they don't. Um, and it just takes a lot of, I think you just have to remain calm in those situations, and people don't try not to get too emotional and just try to stay in a business mind as opposed to, oh, it's so nice, I love the view, it's going to be fantastic, that kind of stuff that hurts. It's You guys have it with investments too. I mean, I want to buy Apple stock because I love my iPhone. Well, that might not be the best choice for your situation. Who knows? So, yeah, I mean, life and humans are all very interesting to deal with, and that's why I think we all love what we do. It's never boring.
It's never boring. What do you think the next like year to year and a half looks like for pre-sales? I mean, BC is a big real estate investor economy. Everybody that, Vishal and I bump up against, they want to be a real estate investor if they're not already. And so pre-sales were an avenue for, it's like a gateway drug for those real estate investors. What do you
Yeah.
kind of see from your end for the next like year and a half?
Well, I mean, overall, we know we need more housing, period. So, like, I know why people feel that way about investing in real estate, especially development, because we just know we need way more units than we are building right now. And but developing, a say a condo tower or something, it takes 10 years. It takes a long time. And most people don't realize how long it can just sit and do nothing. And like you're waiting for the city and you're waiting for like every little rule change and permits, like you mentioned earlier. And there's all these different things that can throw you sideways. And I mean, it's not an easy job. Developers are tough people. So
Yeah.
and they have to be, but it's a necessary thing. We all need more housing. There's not enough houses for everybody. So I think we're going to see a lot of up like the problem is we were at the top of the rate cycle and no developer wanted to borrow money at that rate. So they looked for
Yeah.
different ways to try and make that happen. Now it's starting to come down. I think that's going to spell a lot more development. You'll see a lot more shovels going in the ground eventually if the cities let them do it. I mean, the cities seem to be finally motivated to do it to some degree, but I still don't think that the federal government and the provincial governments have figured out ways to really help the municipalities make that happen more. Um, we'll see more development over time, I think, um, but it's yeah, we're definitely. I mean, it's long term. I don't see how you can lose because we need more units. Period. So it's
Yeah.
like knowing that you need I don't know 1,000 tanks and you need to build a factory to build them. So it's are you going to make money? Probably down the road, but you just between there and here is the hard part. Is how do we get there and how do we
Yeah.
help developers get going and make the unit like one of the interesting things I saw was in downtown Vancouver, they built everything. And don't forget that the stuff that's starting to sell now or is being built was started 6, 7, 8 years ago. Well, they
Yeah.
built everything for offshore investors, which aren't even allowed now. And they're like one like studio units or one bedrooms max. And people now need 2 or 3 bedrooms for families. And downtown Vancouver has all these towers with the wrong units in them. So uh, that stuff's got to change. We have to change our thinking on what we're building. And in the valley, Fraser Valley, you see a lot more townhouses that are 3 and even 4 bedrooms now, starting to come online. But it takes time to get those kind of changes. But that's the stuff we're going to need is higher density, more um, thinking towards families who, because our old thinking is, oh, you buy a condo as a single person, then you make it married, then you buy a townhouse, and then you sell your townhouse, and you buy a house, and that thinking should be out the door now. It's just like
Oh.
the reality is families will live in condos their whole lives sometimes, and that's okay. Like it's just that's the new reality. So how do you build a tower with maybe you have like maybe Tyson, you live next door to us, and there's a bedroom that we could you own it for the first 5 years, and then we switch it, and like I don't know. I mean, there's and maybe deal with families more and have like a built-in daycare center or something. I don't know, but those are ideas that have to come up now and change how we think about all this kind of development stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
10,
It's a great
10,
call.
15, 10, 15 years ago, we saw mass migration from like the lower mainland to the Okanagan.
Yeah.
And we kind of saw like on the island, the Courtney Comox area exploded because they have direct flights to Calgary. And so
Yeah.
the retiring Calgarians, really, really loved that area. What do you kind of see as like a growth area in BC? We'll just focus on BC in like the next like kind of decade or so. What do you think is going to be hot?
Well, I mean, a lot of the reason that happened was there was a price differential at the time, and you could buy on the island cheaper than you could in probably Calgary, but for sure Vancouver.
Yeah.
And same thing with the Okanagan. There used to be a discount, and there just isn't as much of a price discount as it used to be. And so it's hard to kind of say, do I think everybody's going to move to Prince George because it's cheaper? I doubt it. I mean, it's too much of a change for most people. They still want something nice, and not that Prince George is nice, but it's a different
Yikes.
weather thing. That yeah, but it's different weather, right? I mean, you have to
It's
actually
very different.
be prepared for that, and I think
Yep.
people retiring aren't going to want that kind of weather probably if they're going to choose. So I don't have a magic answer to that. I think that it's going to continue where they're going because now that those initial waves have gone 10 years ago, now there's a little more infrastructure in those areas. There's a little more things that those people would want anyway. So there's going to be follow along people that go, yeah, I want to be on the island. I like that. And I don't care about the ferry as long as you're going to fly to Calgary. So yeah, I don't think there's some magic place that's going to suddenly pop up on our radar. I think that, I mean, Chilliwack literally was tiny 10 years ago or 15 years ago, and has grown significantly. So I think it's always about, if you can afford to sell your place and move somewhere and maybe have less of a mortgage or no mortgage, that's everybody's ideal. But they also still want to be in a place they actually want to live in. And I've seen a little bit of people moving to Alberta because it's cheaper. So, that'll change because theirs will eventually rise up too. So the problem is we're in an in-demand area because people want to live here and it's a nice place. So worldwide and Canada-wide. So it's I mean, that's always a good recipe for real estate, is to have real estate in an area people want. But in the big, I don't think there's gonna be any big change to that. I think it's gonna continue. I think you'll see people try to get out of the Fraser Valley or especially Vancouver, just because of costs. I mean, the taxes alone on property taxes and stuff is just, it's crazy. I mean, people have to pay 10 or 20 grand a year to stay in their house, even if it's free and clear. Like that's pretty huge.
Yeah, that's
It's
wild.
crazy. And to be honest,
Yeah.
like, it's another whole different conversation is like if you're spending that much and then like the open drug policies and all that kind of stuff. Like I know a lot of people that are moving away from Vancouver. And to your point, some of them were mortgage free. And part of the reasons is they want more space. Sometimes it's just more liquid cash. Sometimes it's different healthcare. Like it takes too long to get to the hospitals. As they get older, they want to be closer to Royal Columbia, for example, or Sir Memorial or whatever. Well, part of it is like the whole community has changed. The homeless issue is out of control. Open drug usage out of control, and it's just not enjoyable if you're spending so much money for such a small place and so much money on property tax, and you can't even walk outside your home without feeling safe. So it's a complex problem that they need. It's not an easy answer, but everyone kind of needs housing, and how do you do that in a creative way? So it's got to take some kind of creative thinking. I think kind of going back, it's if you see the older condos from like the 90s and the 80s, it was almost like communities that were built because they had to house prices were cheap back then, so they had to incentivize people for community living. Hey, it's hands
Right.
free. You don't have to do your yard work. Everything's here. The amenities are here. It was a lot more spacious. And then for the next 20-ish years, it was getting more compact, less and less in there. And I think it's going to flip back around the other way, where it's going to be more about amenities again, green spaces, public spaces, creative spaces. All that stuff is gonna be so important because over the last like decade or so, a lot of the condos they suck. There's nothing in there. Like there's nothing for you to do. So you're basically in this small condo. Yeah, it's great. You don't have to do yard work or errands and things of that type, but there's nothing for you to do. And you have to walk quite far to get to any kind of public space. So I think that's gonna be a problem. To Mike's earlier point, is when it comes to pre-sales, things can kind of shift, and then your place is not desirable anymore from selling, but also from a rental perspective, because there's going to be so much volume that gets completed all around the same time. Even now, you go around Abbotsford, Langley, Surrey, that there's high rises and condos everywhere that are popping up, and they look like they're all around the same time because as interest rates dropped a bit, boom, construction started again. So all of them are going to be completing around the same time. There's so much, volume available. It's all about desirability, and if your place that you bought doesn't have any amenity space, or the neighborhood around it changed, it's tough. So that's why one of the many reasons why pre-sales are risky, and you don't really want to hold it. And who knows, life may change for you in 5 years when it's getting ready to completion. It's very, very tough. So yeah, overarching theme, just talk to your advisors about it and just see if it makes sense. And you have to look at a lot of different lenses to make sure if it makes sense for you or not, because you don't want to have your money sunk in this thing that's undesirable, and now you're gonna take a loss on it. Not to mention how much more money you could have made over that same 7 years if you were just invested in the markets or like a MIC fund or a REIT fund or
Yeah.
something besides Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Crazy. I think we're over time, boys. Anything else you guys want to quickly throw out there, or save it for next week?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. Tyson, you want to sign us off? You are wearing the nicest shirt again, so.
Yeah,
Is
right.
that
It's
new?
the clean one.
Oh, by the way, this is brought to you by Banana Republic. $60 shirts on for $10 right now.
Yeah, end of summer sale. Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for watching. If you have questions, leave it in the comments. oh man, I feel weird saying this. Make sure you like and subscribe. And then we're gonna leave Mike's contact info in the in the description. So if you need to contact, one of the best mortgage brokers in the province, Mike and his team, hands down, one of the best to work with. We love working with them. Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Bye.